So my name is Karla Maraccini, and I am the Vice President of Community Impact and Strategy at Mile High United Way, located in Denver, Colorado in the United States. We're nestled at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and we are in a wonderful neighborhood, the Curtis Park neighborhood, where we are able to serve a lot of individuals. And what that means is I have the incredible pleasure of overseeing an incredibly talented team who helps us to provide education resources, policy recommendations in the community, early childhood education access, and very high quality child care, and a variety of other things within the community. I also oversee our Bridging the Gap program, which provides housing and support services, case management, employment and training programs for young people who have either aged out of the foster care system or out of the Department of Youth Corrections. Denver is absolutely thriving right now. We are in an economic boom, but not everyone is participating in that boom because they don't have access to a lot of things. Not everyone has the ability to actually benefit from the economic boom that Denver is experiencing. Three of the most consistent things that we hear people are struggling to meet their needs with is safe and affordable housing, childcare, and transportation. But we also know that if somebody is struggling to afford their own home, they are probably not also able to provide the most nutritious food for their family because nutrition is expensive. Very high quality foods are expensive. So we see those as pretty much our main factors. A lot of what we do at the United Way is to help families become more economically stable and go from a place of being in crisis and having a lot of toxic debt and being challenged with having very low incomes to moving into a place where they have livable wages and are actually able to start building assets. Providing enriched and high quality experiences for young children is critical to the growth of our entire community. So Mile High United Way has a really long legacy of helping all children have a strong start. We not only invest in nonprofit organizations around our community who do excellent work to be able to provide families who are unable to afford childcare on their own or very high quality early childhood education with opportunities for scholarships, both full and partial scholarships, but then also making sure that families who choose to raise their children in the home and not in a high quality center are able to turn their living room into a preschool, and that they have opportunities to go out into the community and engage with cultural institutions and go to a park that has developmentally appropriate toys and playground equipment for their very small children. We know that 90% of the brain's development occurs before the age of 5. Those first few years are so important. Everything that I've done in my career comes back to my mom. My mom is one of the most generous and compassionate people I've ever known. She's also a tough cookie, so she really holds the line, but she taught me from a very early age that when you have more than you need, you build a longer table and not a taller fence. And we didn't have much growing up, but what we did have, we shared. And that has just always been my mantra. So I started my career in public service back in 1998 in child welfare, and I was working with families who were involved with us, often not because they abused their children, but because we had concerns around neglect, because they lacked resources and they lacked education and they needed support, and very often they had not been parented well themselves. And so recognizing that our system sometimes set up families in a space where they couldn't always succeed because they couldn't access resources, because they couldn't afford to be able to be at home with their children for long periods of time. They were working 3 and 4 jobs, or because the children's nutrition was poor because they couldn't afford to have good food in the home, and they didn't know how to access public assistance to get good food into the home. And there was always that fine line of how far do we push and how do we support? And I've always chosen the side of support. And I think that that's how you build community. That's how you build strong families. And that's how we all thrive. We know that there is a spectrum of how people want to give back. And sometimes it's an act of kindness, and it's showing up for an event, and it's helping us to distribute donated school supplies to families who need them. And on the other end of the spectrum, it's helping us to transform an entire community, and it's advocating for policy change, and it's helping us to identify who in the community needs to be educated about what is available and how do we get them to speak up and to be able to find their voice and help them to find the words that they can use to make those changes happen. And it's all about where people want to show up and how. And I think sometimes we find people who really enjoy coming for those one-time, very meaningful interventions. They get to know it, they get to know us, they get to know their community, and they come back more and more, and they end up on the other end of the spectrum, helping us transform an entire community. Women United is such a great initiative. We harness the power of strong women all over our community. So while it is women who choose to donate $1,000 a year or more to our women-focused initiatives, it's also a strong group of women who know that we have the power to lift each other up. We know that amazing things happen when we come together, when we march together, when we hashtag together, and when we actually provide each other with simple opportunities to make our lives better. So the Women United Initiative funds a lot of our organizations that we partner with that specifically deal with issues that women and young girls are facing every day. It provides us with opportunities to give them access to increase their educational levels and get higher paying jobs that help them to sustain their family in a better and different way. And it helps young kids who maybe haven't had the opportunity to see other strong women in their life go to programs after school that provide strong mentoring. There's a full spectrum of what those programs are able to do, and it's incredible to see women come together and be so excited about it. There's something very powerful and very empowering about the whole concept, and it impacts a lot of people in our community. You just can't second guess yourself. Gut instincts are amazing, and knowing that we have inner wisdom that maybe hasn't been articulated on our lips yet, trusting that inner wisdom, relying on each other, knowing when to ask for help, and knowing that help will be there.